This is exactly how I'm in the shape of my life at 37, and I'm only getting better, not just physically, but mentally, spiritually, emotionally, financially. And all of this is a result of me not actually focusing too much on the results physically. It's a case of me focusing on the behaviors, habits, and lifestyle changes necessary for me not to just look good, but to look good all year round as a byproduct of being healthy and being energized, having good productivity, good sex life, and all those kind of things. Health is the foundation, ladies and gents, right? But anyway, I did a post on Instagram the other day, and it was me, a fit 23-year-old, versus now a healthy 37-year-old man. Now, just to give you a little bit of a story, right? I started off as a personal trainer by the age of 20, right? So I was PTing people face to face, age of 20. Luckily, I found lifting weights at the age of 17. So I've been lifting for over 2 decades now. But I used to teach spin classes and stuff, right? Believe it or not. I started off, I got my foot in the door with fitness by teaching spin classes, boxercise, circuits, those kind of things. Spin classes are very intense. It's very intense cardio. Not only are you doing really intense spin classes, but you're actually shouting at the class as well. I would do that 3 to 4 times per week, and I would lift like 5, 6 days a week when I was in my early 20s, right? 20, 21, 22. And you can get away with that in your 20s. But everyone listening to this, most, even if you're young, listen up. I wish I knew this stuff when I was younger. But most of you listening are a bit older, right? 30s, my age, 40s, maybe even 50s and 60s. So you have to listen up to what the focus is now and how I train appropriately, how I manage my nutrition, manage my lifestyle, and more importantly, how I've shifted my mindset over the years to be able to sustain that. Because what holds you back from getting into this kind of shape, and like I said, I'm literally in the shape of my life physically. What holds you back a lot of the time, well, most of the time, is beliefs. It's limiting beliefs. You have to unlearn a lot of the BS online. You have to overcome limiting beliefs in terms of holding yourself back with self-sabotage behaviors, with the story you tell yourself day to day. So let's get into the nutrition journey first. So basically, I used to eat garbage, right? So I used to eat whatever I wanted. It used to be processed foods, living in the UK, early 20s, and I could get away with it. I was in good shape, man. Now, when I was early 20s, I used, like I say, I used to teach spin classes. I used to train a lot. I was PTing people, and I was in good shape then, but I actually just had this kind of light bulb moment then as I was making notes. When I went traveling, I traveled the world, right? That's why I ended up coming back to Australia, by the way, to Sydney, because I loved it here. When I traveled here in my early 20s, I traveled for 5 months around the world. And I went back home, and that's when I stopped teaching spin and stuff. Got back home, then I just started doing full-time PT, which meant I then stopped doing as much cardio, hardly any cardio, and I went to lifting weights. And that's how I realized I got abs. I only had that realization then. I was like, wow. It was because I stopped doing all that excess cardio and I was just focusing on weight training and not diet. Yes, genetics play a big part in that, right? I could eat what I wanted and still have abs. That's insane, right? That's good genetics. But also it's because I was lifting weights so consistently at that point. But you can get away with murder in your 20s, a lot of people, right? In terms of what you eat and also the intensity and how often you train. You can train like an absolute savage, eat what you want within reason, depending on the person, and still kind of get away with it to a certain point. You can go out, you can drink, you can not get as much sleep, and you can still, keep doing what you're doing. Everyone knows as you get older, that's not the case. However, most men in particular use this as an excuse. And I'm calling you out, man. Guys in your 30s, 40s, particularly if you've got a family or even older than that, right? And you're saying, look, it's because I'm getting older. I am now out of shape and I'm just going to accept that. BS, right? I am getting better and better leading up to 40 because, yeah, I've been consistent, but because I'm focused on the stuff I'm going to tell you about now with nutrition and lifestyle. So first things first, what you got to look at is I've actually tried every single diet, right? So in my early 20s, like I said, eat whatever I wanted. Came back from traveling at 23, lifting weights, still eating whatever I wanted. Eating a lot of crap, basically. Then when I got to like 25, 26, I actually met this girl, my girlfriend at the time. Basically, she used to eat quite healthy. She used to eat like vegetables, salmon. We used to go to Costco, which I know you guys have in America over there. And we would get it in bulk. And I started eating like salmon for the first time. I thought, wow, that's really nice. We used to get like these frozen oriental vegetables, right, which were lovely. And I started eating, I started enjoying those foods. And naturally, I wasn't aware of this, but I stopped having dairy, as much dairy. Actually, I would have lattes and stuff, but other than that, I stopped having like just loads of dairy. I also cut out a lot of the crap, right? Because naturally I was eating more whole foods. Because again, social influence, who your partner is, will have the biggest impact on you getting your results, right? Because I was around her, she was eating that food. I started eating it and naturally started eating more vegetables, more meat, more whole foods. So, and then what happened, right? That was kind of paleo, right? So I want to touch on that. I didn't realize, but I was eating paleo at the time. It was mainly meat. Paleo was like the hunter-gatherer diet. I cut out a lot of gluten and bread, and I cut out dairy pretty much, or reduced it. And I was just eating mainly like meat, vegetables. I was still having some crap as well. Don't get me wrong. I was having probably maybe 20% of my diet was processed, ultra processed, maybe 25%, but the rest was 75 to 80% was whole foods. Whereas prior to that, it was like 50% ultra processed foods, UPF, and the other 50% was basically natural, right? So from then on, right, I then got into bodybuilding, right? So I got into bodybuilding at the age of 25, 26, and that's when I got the poor binge eating, right? So I ended up binge eating for like 2 months where I would eat chicken and broccoli, restrictive diet leading up to a comp, which is not necessary, by the way, when you're competing. I would do that, and then boom, I would have what I call now to clients a symptom eruption, where you try and restrict all your favorite foods, and then bang, the weekend comes, you hit the off button. Well, I was doing that every weekend as a result of my hormones being a bit out of whack, right? Not from taking steroids because I was natural, but just because of the natural impact of getting down to like 4% body fat, not good. And then psychologically, that restriction constantly, time and time again, because I did like 9 competitions altogether, then gave me well, even leading up to that, I'd only done like 4 or 5 comps at that point, but then I ended up with a binge eating disorder, right? I don't even want to say disorder. I was just emotionally eating / binge eating every weekend, basically. So then I had to go, right, okay, I need to fix this, right? So I basically then started fasting. So I started to learn that actually with a bodybuilding way of eating 6 meals a day, or even I remember for one comp, I was eating 7 meals a day. I was eating turkey, asparagus, broccoli, some sweet potato, some macadamia oil, right? And that's pretty much what I was eating for 7 meals a day leading up to a comp. But I started to realize that actually if I didn't eat 6, 7 meals a day, that muscle wouldn't fall off my body. I actually started educating myself. I started eating 3 meals a day. I started because I was used to be fearful. I was a skinny teenager. See, used to be fearful that muscle will fall off my body. Right, I was obsessed with being jacked, essentially. Right, and I then started going, okay, I heard a bit about this intermittent fasting, so I started because I was overeating a lot, right, binge eating. I was like, man, I got to just like I was actually in gut pain anyway. I was getting pain the next morning from where I was overeating so much. And I just started dragging the fast out in the morning a bit longer. I think I dragged it out to about 10 a.m., which, by the way, is the best way. If you're going to start, you want to start intermittent fasting, start slow. Let's say you have breakfast at 8 a.m., maybe delay it for 2 hours and have it at 10 a.m. That's what I did. And then I got to like, okay, I can push through a bit longer. Then I got to 12 midday, break my fast. I started having 2 meals. I started noticing, wow, muscles not falling off my body. Great. And then after the fat, combined with the fasting, I started eating more vegetables. So I started eating more broccoli, more spinach. I would add like cider vinegar and salt to make it taste better. And I actually started enjoying those foods, but not just enjoying them. I started to feel better. I started to notice because of all the extra fiber and obviously the micronutrients I was getting from the vegetables, I started feeling better. I noticed my gut health was better and I started having more energy. I noticed I was less hungry as well because the fiber on top of the meat that I was eating was keeping me satiated. And then I slowly started to convert. And then fast forward, I obviously, long story short, then fast forward to about 2020 was when I switched over to like animal-based diets. And then I've kind of gone full circle now, 2025. You could say animal-based because I do now eat mainly red meat, which I never used to do prior to 2020. I would eat like a combination of different meats and ocean fish and stuff, but probably about 80% of the meat that I eat now is grass-fed beef, like rump steak or beef mince, and about 5% is beef liver. Then the other 15%, I'll have a little bit of chicken breast. Probably about 5% of it is chicken breast. And the other 10% is sardines. Basically, that's it. And obviously, I eat eggs on top of that. So now that's how I eat now, right? And I'm in great shape because I now naturally eat the calories that my body needs because like I said, I got to about 80% whole foods. And then over the last 10 years, let's say 10 years ago, I was probably around about 80% whole foods. Now I'm like 95%. I have dark chocolate, like I said lately, that's my vice, man. I got this dark chocolate called Alter Eco. Oh my God, it's good and it's natural. It's not full of heavy metals like Lindt. If you're eating Lindt chocolate, I don't know if you saw that, full of heavy metals, right? So Alter Eco, I have that, but I've been abusing it. What I did the other day, by the way, don't try this at home. I bought loads, it was on sale. So I bought loads of Alter Eco. I bought like 15 bars. Don't do that at home. Don't try it. Did it, and then boom, I'm eating too much of it now. But that's okay. I can still say lean, but it's not about staying lean. By the way, that's not the reason why I worry about overeating or eating more dark chocolate. It's behavioral. It's more a case of, look, I'm eating here based on emotions. I don't need to eat 80 grams of dark chocolate a day or 60, 70 grams, not 80 grams, probably about 60 to 70. I don't need to eat that. I'm just eating it because it's there. It's behavioral, it's emotional, it's sometimes boredom, sometimes just a drag off eating, to be honest, because when I cook a meal, it costs me time and energy, right? I like to get work done. So, look, that's where I'm at now, and I eat to perform, right? As a 37-year-old man going on 38 next year, next month, by the way, I now eat to perform. I eat to have energy throughout the daytime. So I fast in the mornings because it's convenient and because it saves me time because I don't want to be cooking and eating all the time because I don't get the meal prep stuff. I cook the meals myself. And I'm fortunate enough to work from home because I have an online business, which is great. But I do that because it's convenient and I feel better. I get more work done. I produce better work and more productive in the mornings when I have my black coffee, my dark chocolate. So I'm not fasting fully, but I'm having dark chocolate in the morning, like 90% of my black coffee. I have my element when I wake up, my electrolytes. Whereas before, when I was in my early 20s, I would essentially just get up and just have a load of caffeine, right? I wake up tired because I didn't prioritize sleep the night before. My regularity was all over the place. And I only think going back to, okay, yeah, I was in shape physically. And to be honest, in my early 20s, at 23, for example, I had more muscle mass. I'm not going to deny that. I had more muscle mass, definitely, because testosterone levels naturally way higher. So I had a little bit more muscle mass, not much though. It's not a great deal actually, but definitely had more fullness and more muscle mass. But I'm leaner now all year round at this age, and that is, as I say, as a result of just eating for performance, living to feel good, and training primarily to feel good. Looking good is still important. I'm not going to lie. I still want to look good, and to be honest, I still have body dysmorphia a bit. Actually, more than a bit. I'm not going to lie to you. This is a little insight here. I'm going to be honest with you. The other day, my girlfriend and I, we had a little bit of a argument actually over this, right? Now, when I went back to Brazil, didn't realize I was doing this when I went to Brazil, but I checked my abs. I didn't even realize I'm doing it. This is from being obsessed as a bodybuilder and essentially, getting on stage shredded and being obsessed with how shredded your abs are because that's how you win the comp, right? So now let's just say in my heyday of body dysmorphia, I was checking my abs, let's just say 25 times a day. Now I check my abs probably around about 5 times a day, maybe a little bit more. According to Giannini, it'd probably be more, right? But when I went to Brazil, I didn't even realize I was doing it. And my friend as well, my close mate in New York, I'm going to shout him out. He's the same. He's done some bodybuilding comps. He's really healthy now. But remember when we went away on a trip together, back when I was single in 2022, he kept pinching his stomach. I was like, bro, are you aware you're doing that? So look, men get this as well. It's very common in men, if not more common than ever, for whatever reason that is. But all that to say is, yes, I still like to look good and I still check my abs, but that is not the important thing for me now. Eating, I eat 2 meals a day. I eat now to give me energy, sustained energy throughout the daytime. Like I said, I eat low carbs in the daytime, high protein and fats with that first meal, and obviously mainly fats with the dark chocolate. By the way, I'm not recommending anyone does this. This is a lot of calories I'm eating. There's a lot of calories in dark chocolate, right? A lot of calories. Today, I probably eaten about 500 calories in dark chocolate. So I wouldn't necessarily, just because dark chocolate is more natural than processed foods, it's still very calorie dense. And the satiety is not going to be high on it, right? So bear that in mind. Don't try and do what I do. I want to be clear here. The worst thing you can do is try and do what I do because there's lots of different variables. So I do that and I look good as a byproduct of me eating those 2 meals. I eat real food. I don't yo-yo diet or binge eat on the weekends. I now swap on the weekends. What I do is I have yogurt, whey protein powder. I'll sometimes have peanut butter. I have more fruit and those kind of things on the weekend. I know it sounds silly, right? Fruit is a treat, but I don't like eating fruit on its own. I like to mix it with yogurt and protein powder and maybe some peanut butter as well. And I do that, and that's kind of like my, I don't even want to say like a treat. It just basically is something I do to mix it up and keep my diet more enjoyable, right? And I love eating. Like normally in the evenings now, for example, this evening, like I say, I'll have my white rice, my steak, and I'll have greens, and that's pretty much it. You know what I mean? And even I'm happy to do that. It's not that I don't enjoy that, but sometimes we'll do that on the weekends, my girlfriend and I. So look, all that to say as well, I did struggle with depression as well. So mental health is really, really important to me, right? Now, when I was 23, actually, when I come back from that trip traveling, and I got into great shape, and that's the mad thing, because I was in great shape, but I was suffering more than ever mentally. I went through depression and anxiety for about 18 months. This is prior to bodybuilding and stuff, by the way. This is from the age of 23 right up until almost about 25. And the way I was eating, what like I said, was I was eating crap food. When I look back, that wasn't helping. Eating a lot of processed foods. Number two, drinking and partying on the weekends. Obviously, I was going hard as hell. Binge drinking was obviously damaging me. But then I had some stuff go on in childhood and a few different things, which I won't go into here. I had to go and get a therapist and cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT. I'm not sure if you've heard of that. That really helped at the time. It didn't solve the problem, but it helped me slowly manage my thoughts better. And over time, and then I don't like when I look back at the time, I didn't realize this, but like I said, I met that girl at the time. She was eating healthier. Then I started eating healthier. And then I also, I think I was still drinking and partying hard, to be honest. But then slowly I just got better, right? And that was because therapy helped a lot. I think because when I look back at this particular girlfriend as well, she actually had mental health struggles as well prior to me meeting her. So it was someone that could relate, that I could talk to, I think helped as well. So all this to say right now, mental and emotional health is key for me. That's why I do everything. I don't always feel motivated to get out of bed. It's winter here. It's dark. It's cold. I'm warm in bed. You got to get that out of your head. That's not how I feel all the time, but I get up and I train anyway because I know the benefits I get mentally, emotionally, energy, my every aspect of your life improves when you're mentally and emotionally resilient, and testosterone levels as well, which play a big part in that, of course, from training. So that's why I focus everything on. And I focus on getting out in nature. Like this morning, by the way, this week I just started doing some running, right? I haven't done cardio for a while. Doing some sprints on the beach. Damn, that's hard work, but I felt great afterwards. So getting out in nature and doing grounding, right? Getting my feet on the sand. If you have access to a beach, get on the sand for grounding. It's way better for you. It's great for you. And also just grounding on grass is good, but the beach is better. But even if you can ground on grass, I know it was a big difference in terms of how I feel. So I'm tuned into all these things now when it comes to health, nature, being out in nature, grounding, going for a swim in the ocean, doing my breath work in the afternoon, dialing in my sleep routine as well, because that's the most important thing for your mental health, right? In the morning, just not having caffeine straight away and adding to stress and maybe making my mental health worse or more anxious, because that's the worst thing you can do is add fuel to the fire. Try it when you're anxious. I did this the other week. It's so stupid. Every time I do it, I'm like, why? I was already anxious and I had a double espresso. I would already had all like a good amount of caffeine. Then I had an extra double espresso. Oh my God. Recipe for disaster. Don't try that, right? So now I'm getting up. I'm having my electrolytes. I'm having my salt and water so I can hydrate. I get outside. I get my daylight and my sunlight. Then I have my caffeine, a bit after that. And all these little things, a compound effect of these things, and having a proper bedtime routine. Like I say, I avoid blue light like the plague from 60 to 90 minutes before bedtime, which naturally is going to have a massive positive effect on my mental health, right? Because I'm dropping cortisol and the stress hormones, which are going to be boosted upwards when you're looking at blue lights, looking at your laptop or screen leading up to bedtime. So, and the big thing here is I no longer have the desire. The reason why I'm in great shape and thriving going on to 38, and why, by the way, man, I'm going to say this again, right? And for women, right? When you become a parent, don't use the excuse of I haven't got time. Your personal standards need to be higher. Granted, you're going to have less time. I get that, right? You're going to have probably poor sleep. That's the thing I'm going to struggle with when God willing I become a father, right? Which is the plan in a year or two, hopefully, if all goes to plan. With how it goes, right? With anyway, like what I'm trying to say by this is like how it goes in terms of fertility and everything else. I'm praying that everything's going to be great and the Lord is going to bless me, hopefully. But I like to say God willing anyway. Why am I going on here? Long story short, I'm going to become a father, right, in a few years' time. That's the plan. And I am going to raise my personal standards. Now, my sleep is going to be compromised. I am not going to be probably physically in the shape I'm in now. I'm still going to be in amazing shape. Might lose a little bit of muscle because of the lack of sleep. Testosterone levels naturally go down when you have a kid as well, right? So, but I'm still going to keep my nutrition. I'm going to eat well because I'm going to want to be more, I'm going to be want to be a role model for my kid. So I'm going to have even higher standards with the food and the things I say and talk about when it comes to food and checking my abs. I'm not going to be doing that. I'm going to have to stop doing that when I have a kid, right? So you need to be really dialed in and focusing on your health more so when you have kids. You need to be focusing on moving more, right? You need to be making better decisions with food for the most part, right? And that's what you got to look at. Don't use the excuse of, oh, I'm getting older, I've got kids, I haven't got time, I'm going to gain weight. No, that's going to set not just you up for failure long term, it's going to actually rub off on your child, right? And it's not about being perfect. I'm not saying this to put you into a bloody pain pit. It's just that you are in control to do something about it. You can move more. You can get out and walk. You can make better decisions with food and be more organized with food, right? You can do some exercise, strength training wise. It doesn't have to be going to a gym if you haven't got the time. You can do it in the house, body weight stuff, 10, 15 minutes each day. It doesn't have to be much, but don't use that excuse because it's so important for you to lead by example as a parent, right? And again, not being perfect, but making good decisions for the most part. Does age make it a bit harder? Yeah, a little bit, but you can combat that by your decisions. Okay, so I wanted to say that. But I want to wrap this up with I no longer have the desire to eat ultra processed foods because I eat whole foods for the most part. And I've rewired my brain because those foods hijack your brain and they make you want to eat more and they make you addicted to those foods. They're addicted, they're highly addicted, a lot of this UPF. So now, because I've eaten whole foods for the most part, as I say, I enjoy eating dark chocolate. That's my vice, like I've said. I now enjoy eating like peanut butter on the weekends, for example. If I want to have peanut butter and some yogurt and fruit and, whey protein mixed in, that's like a treat to me now because I now get better. I'm getting, my body is basically now programmed to eat real food and nourishment intuitively because of, eating more whole foods as opposed to trying to consciously remove all those foods. If you try and consciously deprive yourself of all of those foods that you enjoy eating that make you overeat, yes, you have to say no at times and make that decision. That's not an approach for lasting change. You have to focus on eating more protein, eating more whole foods, eating more fiber, focus on that first, setting yourself a protein target and do that consistently. And like I just said, over time, you'll have less desire to eat those foods. One more thing as well, in terms of training, now I train smart, right? I train with less volume per session. I don't do bro splits. I train the full body most of the time now. I do 3 full body sessions. Then I'll do some light sessions on the days in between, or I'll do like a push pull split, right? Where I'll do, upper body 1 session, and then legs and abs the next session, then upper body, then legs and abs again. So that's like 4 sessions. But for the most part, I train the full body, moderate intensity. I'll do, say 3 to 4 sets per body part, 3 to 5 sets per body part, as opposed to doing like legs one day, for example, and doing 15 sets in one session. I spread that volume out. And that frequency is the most important thing when it comes to getting results. So now, because I know what I know my body, I'm in tune with my body because of life experience and training for so long. Now I know what works for my body. And this works for most people anyway, is training the body parts at least twice per week, train at the right intensity, not overtraining, stopping short of failure, which I never used to do. I used to train to absolute failure in my 20s. Now I stop 1 or 2 reps short of failure. All those things make a massive difference. Look, I'm giving away my shred blueprint just to wrap this up, right? The version 1 is actually got what gets better results. I've had feedback from people. I got version 2, but version 1 of the shred blueprint, where you get a mapped out nutrition game plan, meal plan, training program, which incorporates all the OYB methods, which will get you great results. Also, it's got like nutrition like fundamentals map, so you know exactly what to do, shopping list, everything you need, how to calculate your it's got a calories and macro calculator in there as well, everything you need, and a bonus ab training guide as well. So all you got to do if you want that, click the link beneath in the show notes. Also, I've got a mastermind as well, the mid-year reset, which I'm doing for clients on Wednesday the 2nd of July at 9 a.m. Sydney time. So that's going to be Tuesday, the 1st of July, 7 p.m. Eastern time in America, right? Come along to that. I'm giving away a few seats for that. And all you've got to do, if you want me to keep you a seat, basically what you're going to get out of this is the exact methods that I use with clients, training wise, nutrition wise, and how to stay in shape when traveling or with client meetings or on holiday, and also an audit as well. It gives you a map how to audit your health to make sure that you're making progress. If you want to come along to this, it's going to be gold. Click the link beneath in the show notes. I put my Instagram in the show notes, and all you got to do is click the link, go to my Instagram, drop me a DM with the word reset, and I will give you the invite link for the training. All right. Speak soon, legend.